we have always getting better response from customers. Lot of footfall. From year 2015, we are participating in ProPak Asia Thailand. And this year also, due to COVID, there are lesser movement, but the key customer who are our customer and more people who are interested in our product are visiting frequently.
At first, Liquid Box planned to be in ProPak exhibition and have a booth, actual booth there anyway, because we know that people around the world will come to ProPak especially for the packaging business. However, the COVID situation did not support us that much to be physically being there to meet our potential client and also our partners. So ProPak has offered us a hybrid exhibition, which actually answering what we are looking for, because we still want to meet our potential clients and also our partner, but without physically being there. So that's why, with no hesitation, we actually participate in hybrid exhibition.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WPO Meet Expert. The session today is brought to you together with our forefront packaging partner, World Packaging Organization, or WPO. So the positive side of the current situation is that it has given us the opportunity to keep connected, and today to have a peek into the minds of world's leading packaging experts. The topic today is innovations in packaging, and from the roster of the experts today, we're going to learn some new things. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce your moderator, Professor Pierre Pienard, the president of World Packaging Organization. Over to you, Professor.
Mark, thanks very much. And how excited I am to be with all of you again this evening, this morning. And first of all, I want to say a warm welcome to all of you. I know we've got viewers across the world, majority from Southeast Asia, but certainly we welcome those from India, from Europe, and from the far north out of China. You are most welcome, and I'm sure that you will enjoy this event with us this evening. I have got a fantastic lineup of experts from packaging, really experts in the innovation sector relating to packaging. And the first one I'd like to introduce to all of you, some of you know him, and he is Chakravarti AVPS from India. Now, just a little bit about Chakravarti for those of you who have not heard him before. And fortunately, he can be with us, having just come from another presentation that he was involved in India a few moments ago. So we are very privileged to have him with us. Now, Chakravarti comes with a long list of accolades, one of them being that he is one of the more successful winners of the World Stars for the last 5 years, in fact, and probably one of the few awardees of the Ameristar for pharmaceutical packaging. He has about 36 years of experience in packaging, predominantly in the pharmaceutical sector, but it does cross-link to many other sectors. The privilege that I personally have with him is that he is our ambassador, our global ambassador for the World Packaging Organization, but he also has served as the chairman for the Indian Institute of Packaging in Hyderabad for many years, and sits on their national board for the last decade or more. He has been instrumental in developing a number of pharmaceutical compliance pacts for the United States and its regulatory remarks. Chakravarti, let me stop there. I mean, I could go on and on. Let's hear from you, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Pierre Pienard, and my fellow panelists, Ms. Gail and Ms. Soha Attala, and the organizer, Mark from ProPak Asia. It's always a great pleasure to be a part of this wonderful events conducted by ProPak Asia, But for pandemic, we would have met all of you physically, which I've been doing for the last few years. Nevertheless, the digital evolution, digital technology brings us together, and these virtual platforms are really helping us to be together. And I've been a part of this ProPak Asia initiatives for a long time. And thank you very much once again, Professor PNR. I do not know whether I'm so successful. Nevertheless, I've been hanging around in this landscape for quite a while, more than three and a half decades. When I started my career way back in 1984, that was as an electrical engineer. I never thought I would land up as a packaging CEO in the long term. No, but destiny decided like that. But the very first assignment itself was international paper mills. So basically, paper mills is connected with the packaging. So paper mills and paper boards almost for 10 years, and then early 90s, I had to enter into packaging. None other than one of the very innovative and one of the largest groups, Ackerland Rousing, Tetra Pak, Sweden. So I was heading the plant, the production heading, and also in projects in way back in 93, 94. I had the opportunity to learn the international packaging techniques at Lund and Norrköping. I spent quite some time in Sweden those days. I was traveling across Europe. In fact, those days, we needed to have one visa for one country. You cannot have one Schengen visa, European visa for all the countries. And again, the currency was different from each country. You have to apply. So in one trip, I finished around 9 countries. I still remember in 1995, but all packaging related. I was going to Offenbach, to Switzerland, Zurich, Bern, and then Germany, Italy, Spain, whatnot. But somehow I've been quite happy coming to this far. Currently, I'm running a company called EcoBliss, as Pierre was describing, involved in pharmaceutical and other segments, also packaging, blister packaging, and other offset printing related packaging. But that was the prime which earns bread for my living. But as you already know, packaging is a passion. I'm really passionate about packaging. Anywhere any packaging event comes, usually my eyes go onto it. That's the reason, how the passion came to me. So I'm really inspired by various developments throughout my career. To name few, in the early 90s, as I was telling, I was involved in making a ice cream brick pack. Way back those days, 25 years ago, I was working with one good packaging technologist called Nick Hammer from Walls International. So the Walls was a part of, Walls was coordinating with Unilever those days. So we are talking about anti-migration through paper to leaching into ice cream. So we are talking about extrusion, laminated recycled boards. At that time, most of the packs used to be done with a virgin pulp board. Nevertheless, we found that we can be more environmentally responsible. We can still use recycled board, not compromising the quality of the product by giving a proper LDP coating, extrusion LDP coating, even on the sides, also the ceiling, etc. So that's how we started, and the journey is never ending. In all through my journey, if I have to quote, there are infinite number of packages we have been developing throughout my career. Another one was the one, seeing is believing, we say, the blister packaging, as you know. When we developed a pack around 1.5 decades ago, again from a Unilever company. The director, the CEO of the Windy Banga those days, he went on to become a global CEO of Hindustan, Unilever International. He told in Hindi, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." So what you can see, you will buy. So that was a compliment given to me when I was presenting a very out of the box packaging idea to pack the vegetable seeds in a blister pack where you can physically see the seeds from the package. So these kind of incidents really inspired me. Imagine the 20th century businessman, the Peter Drucker. We all read about him, about his writings in our MBA classes, business administration classes, and all. What he has told, business has only two functions. One is marketing, the other is innovation. Of course, I correlate the packaging with a marketing function, because ultimately the final marketing message which goes to the customers lies in your hands is nothing but packaging. So going by Peter Drucker himself, we are in the packaging industry, and like Professor PNR told, it's not only for my company. I've been trying to bring awareness about the packaging education in all the user companies, especially in the food, pharmaceutical, and other areas. Packaging can never go to backseat. It has to be in the front. It has to be at the designing stage itself, the product designing, not the packaging designing stage itself, so that you won't have any problems. And packaging has to be given due importance, and all packaging stakeholders really deserve the way they are contributing to the respective industries. We are seeing that thanks to the efforts of people like Professor Pierre PNR and his colleagues, and we are trying to do a bit for the last couple of decades in this arena. Yeah, over to you, back to Pierre to carry on the next question session. I'll be more pleased to answer specific questions.
Thanks very much, Chakravarti. Nice to have you with us. So the next speaker I'd like to introduce to you is Soha Atala. Now, she's an international industrial expert from Beirut in Lebanon with extensive experience in industrial development, as well as packaging, marketing, and food safety. And that's throughout the Middle East, North Africa, as well as Asia. With 20 years of experience in design services to many, many companies across the world, over 200. And she's partnered with UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, as their international expert on packaging and marketing in numerous countries. And when I say numerous countries, I'm talking about Mongolia, Morocco, Pakistan, Jordan, Oman, Egypt, Bahrain, Lebanon, and Tunisia. So she comes with lots of experience. She's also a vice president of the WPO. So it's good to have her with us here this evening. And she's certainly a proactive player in that region, having founded the Lebanese Packaging Center, LebanPack, as well as the Arab StarPack. And this has really raised the bar in packaging in the Gulf region. And she brings along with her an enormous amount of experience relating to that sector in that particular region, but certainly through the UN, interfacing with many international organizations. So Soha, I'd like to hand the floor to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pierre, for this introduction. Actually, you described my career in packaging. I will simply say that I have a passion for packaging. So I don't realize that I'm working because I have passion for what I do. Since I graduated from university, I was working with the United Nations on the food aspect of Lebanon. And then I developed this passion for packaging. And as Pierre said, I established LebanPack, the Lebanese Packaging Center that was not serving only Lebanon, that was serving the Arab region. And then the other Arab regions starts copying this model of LebanPack, and I was helping them to establish their own packaging center, also with the support of the United Nations. Then I was lucky enough to know that there was a World Packaging Organization, and here I became also a part of this global family that I'm very proud of being part of them. And my passion increased, and increased not only to my country, increased globally, where I had the opportunity with UNIDO and with WPO to travel to amazing countries such as Mongolia, Pakistan, and to help them to improve the competitiveness of their product through packaging. So I'm happy to be with you guys. And as also Pierre said, I'm the Vice President of the WPO, and I'm also recently the coordinator of WorldStar. And here I'm very lucky to see a lot of innovation each year from a lot of winners who are already winners and star in their country, and they are now competing on the international level. So happy to be with you and happy to answer that challenging question of our moderator, President Pierre Pinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Sawa. Nice to have you with us this morning. Our next expert will join us is Gail McLeod. Now, Gail comes from Johannesburg in South Africa, and she consults on packaging innovation and brand architecture. She's really future-focused, and delivers world-class brand and digital marketing strategies. She has spoken at numerous global conferences on innovation in packaging. So she's just the right person to have us involved here. Things like Black Technology in Packaging and Innovation, that was in China, and then Innovation and Packaging Trends, that was in Moscow. Innovation Consumer Insights in Packaging in Berlin, in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, New York, Johannesburg, as well as Istanbul. She's CEO of her company, Stratcom Branding, and I'll no doubt let her tell you more about that. She has 30 years of innovation experience in packaging and brand architecture. Gail, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pierre. I'm excited to be part of the panel. And as Soha said, I think that packaging, once you get excited and you have a passion, it becomes something that just grows and grows as the years roll on. So from my side, I started in the branding and strategy industry 30 years ago. And in that period, obviously working with many multinationals and local heroes, as we call them, global giants and local heroes. And from the branding and the strategy side, I found it very interesting when we design a new product innovation is very much for what the future needs are. So our focus, when you say future forward or future focused, that's very much where we are. We're looking at what market need is, and we're looking at how do we innovate and fill that market need, and then obviously working with a network. So when I started Stratcom Branding, it was in just prior to 1996. And over the years, looking to network and build a bigger family. So I used the word family. So via DuPont, who do a lot of substrate and chemical engineering, I met with a similar agency in Berlin, and we decided that we were going to start a global business. So we began the alliance with Johannesburg and Berlin, and we brought New York in. And from New York, we brought Moscow, Sao Paulo, Istanbul into the fold, as well as, there's 7 of us: New York, Berlin, Sao Paulo, Moscow, Istanbul, and Shanghai, and obviously Johannesburg. And from there, we formed the Global Alliance, which is very exciting for us, because within the Global Alliance, we've got chemical engineers, we have packaging industrial designers, we have ideators, innovators. And when you mentioned the various conferences around the world, we are chatting with the customers and the other innovators. And what it does is it's taken this small family into a much bigger family. And obviously in ideation and innovation, I think it's very important to have a very good network of very competent people around one. So I'm very happy also to be part of the WPO. Thank you very much for inviting me onto the panel. And I look forward to working with everybody and for this exercise today.
Wonderful, and to you a special welcome as well. Now, before I go any further, I'd just like to say thanks to ProPak Asia for the fantastic relationship that the World Packaging Organization has for a number of years shared with ProPak Asia. This is the third and final of a 3-part series, that we've had over the last number of weeks now, looking at sustainability and recycling, and now we're looking at innovation, all pertaining to packaging. And we've had an exciting 2 previous events, and I see no difference, if not more exciting, in this particular one. So I welcome you all, and I'm talking from Mumbai to Melbourne, from Cape Town to the Cape Verde Islands. We've got even from Shanghai to Singapore. So we've got a real nice mix across the world. So a fantastic group. Please ask any questions you like. Here is your chance. You've got 3 folk in the room. If they can't answer it, then I guess then it was not a question, because you're not going to get better than what we have in today's session. I want to start off by saying and I'm going to go slightly different to normally we let the ladies go first. Tonight we will let the men go first. And I'm going to start with you, Chakravarti, because just to get a feel about this word innovation, it's used so extensively by all and sundry. Can you tell the viewers and the listeners around the world what, in your opinion, or how do you see what packaging innovation really is?
This appears very simple, but it's a little complex too, because all my fellow panelists, including you, we are really eating packaging, sleeping packaging. That is a passion of packaging. So the innovation is in our blood. Innovation is a constant, constantly changing, and it's there all over. But to me, whenever we talk about innovative, the design of a package, the particular one, has to really stand out. And what for an innovation in the first place? So that has to really help the so-called product, what we are going to pack, to really stand out on the shelf, or nowadays, even in the e-tailing format, even then, it has to really stand out. The unboxing experience whatsoever, because hardly we are going to shelves and buying. Most of our buying is in the e-tail mode, like Amazon and other Alibaba and other formats. So the innovation also in the packaging innovation has to really help any product, be it a food product. We can go deep into the system, extending the shelf life, adding value, user experience, all these things, so many things. But in a nutshell, that innovation has to help that product to grow further, to have a better market and become successful in the market, the cost effective throughout the lifespan of that particular product. Farm to fork, or rather the warehouse to the factory to the customer. From in pharmaceuticals, it's a laboratory clinical trials to ultimately to the patient. So that has to safeguard. So innovation doesn't have much more objective. This is a basic objective. There have been several other things as per me. Thank you.
Thanks, Chakravarti. And so along with the same sort of question, Soha, why is it then so important? What is so special about innovation in packaging?
Yes, I will tell you something, if I allow me to give an example. Why packaging is important? Actually, it's very important if you want to stay in your business. If you don't keep on innovating your packaging and your brand, you will simply be out of business. And allow me to give an example that is not really related to packaging, about phones. Like 10 years ago or more, the leaders in the phone industry, there was no smartphone. It was Nokia and Ericsson. And now Nokia and Ericsson are getting back to the business, but are almost out of the business. And now we have Apple, we have Samsung, who are the leaders in the phone and the smartphone. And why, the example, Ericsson and Nokia were now out of the business is because of innovation. They were not so innovative even BlackBerry was not so innovative. So when you are not so innovative in your business, whether packaging, whether food, whether technology, you simply be out of business. So innovation is very important. You need to, as Chakravarti said, it's a process that does never end. Just create a bright idea and just sit and said, yes, I have this market share and relax. No, you have competitors. So you have to always be in pace and be innovative.
Well, thank you, Soha. I like that example you gave of the mobile phone or the cellular phone, which leads me nicely into the question, my next question from Gail, and that is that what then makes an innovation innovative?
So thanks for that. I think that the mobile example is really exciting and one very close to my heart. Yes, also with regard to if you're not innovating, you're going to lose market share. And I think, so if I can start with, if you're not innovating, you're going to lose market share, and then go on to talk more about the mobile technology, is we have a number of global giants in the world that have been quite complacent over the last decade or so, with mega brands of over 100 years old and so on, that have really been getting sales through just sheer distribution and some strategy, and not really, I think, doing true innovation. So when I talk about true innovation, multiple multinationals are doing a range extensions, variant extensions, putting peanut butter in a tub instead of in a glass jar, and that for me is not really innovation. Those are just market shifts and looking at slightly different ways to enhance the product getting to the consumer. So what makes innovation innovative? I think it really is that it answers a need ahead of its time. It is something that's got a purpose, so that the market, the commercial viability of it will be very good with its uptake. I know that's always not that easy to predict. It has to be brave. It has to be an aha moment. And it is to be truly innovative, it has to have a very strong purpose. And I believe strongly in knowing the consumer deeply. So in terms of the market need I spoke about earlier, it's about making sure that it's going to have an uptake in the market. And of course, it must cause us to pause. It must cause us to think, what is this? Or it helps us do something in a different way. And when you talked about the mobile and cellular markets, interesting, in 2008, we were discussing with a major global beverage CSD customer going into digital and smart packaging. So we'll get into that a bit later, I think, in terms of the Internet of Things and connectivity. But really to contemplate where we were 15 years ago, where if somebody spoke about smart packaging, I don't think anybody would have really considered it, except maybe obviously in China, they're way ahead of the curve. And it's very exciting. And I think we're being pushed into the future with this digital technology of the future. So I think really the bottom line is it needs to answer a need, be ahead of its time, and to be an aha moment. It needs to be something that, why didn't I think of that? And then drive it with purpose.
Fantastic answer. Now, I was listening very intently. You must have been a very good student at university.
No doubt.
Well done. No. I mean, there's a lot in there. I mean, when you unpack all that you said, there's lots there, which challenges Chakravarti on the next question, because I want him to give us a good example of packaging innovation.
Well, if you ask me, there have been several, but let me take you through a simple innovation. I do not know in how many centuries ago wheel was invented. Everything was square or other shape, but now the wheel is being reinvented in every sector. Without wheel, the earth, the globe is not there. The wheel, the circle. the circle is the most innovation in the world, not in the packaging anyhow, but even in the packaging, I do not know. But why I'm taking this example, when wheel was invented, it was a complex thing. And today we say, okay, wheel, okay, we use the wheel in everywhere. Similarly, in packaging innovation, when it now it has come to your daily life, you just take it granted. But how much effort might have gone when the real packaging design innovation was put into laboratory and then validated into the shelf life and then put into the market, especially when you pack products, food products and pharmaceutical products. So if you ask me what is the innovation which really changed the world, is milk packaging. Say like air, oxygen and water, milk also is an essential item. Imagine millions of billions of gallons without the packaging innovations, where all the milk is also a food, where all it would have gone. So it has really helped the mankind those days when be it a flexible pouch or be it a container, formed container, whatsoever in the initial stages. It really helped farmers to exploit the complete output of that milk, whatever they produce. Otherwise, 50-60% of the milk produced would have gone waste. Eventually, and the packaging innovation has helped people. You don't need to store it in a refrigerator, especially in the tropical countries. You ought to keep the milk in the refrigerator. Now, thanks to the packaging innovations, UST milk, you had treated milk, you can actually store for 6 months outside the refrigerator. You still have the fresh milk. But who is responsible? That innovation in packaging. So these innovations, I rate them, which helped the mankind in a larger aspect. Even the water carriers, be it a bottle, okay, recyclable bottle or a single-use bottle whatsoever. But these definitely help the mankind to look into a different perspective, as per me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chakravarti. You know, it's so good sitting here and listening, because there's so much information coming through, and I hope the listeners are seeing it. And please, to all of you viewers out there, don't hesitate to ask these experts any question relating to innovation that you want to. Just put it in the Q&A, and I will pick it up there, or the chat function, whichever one you are more comfortable in using. Soha, why does innovation matter? Your microphone, Soha.
It's similar to the first question, why packaging is important. I gave an example, and I will tell you why innovation matters. Because as we have seen this year and the past year, consumer needs and consumer trends and consumer perceptions are changing every day, every month. So we have to cope with these consumer needs. We have to respond to these needs. We have to respond with these challenges that the life is giving us with innovation. For example, whether in pharmaceutical, in food, in cosmetics, and now the number one trend after the COVID is sustainability. And I will not talk a lot about it because I can see that we will talk more about sustainability, but it's very important to be innovative and to have this design thinking process inside our company, and sometimes to hire international consultant to help us in this exercise, because it's not easy. I'm telling you, to be innovative and to come up with an idea that will break through and that will make a success with your consumers and with your competitor is not an easy task. It's a very challenging task, but we have to do it. There's no choice about it. Whenever a brand owner decides to be in business, then he has to be innovative and to respond to the consumer needs and the trends that they are changing on a daily basis.
So that leads me then, based on you were saying it's not easy. innovation and to always coming up with these ideas. I'm going to put the same question to Gail, a two-part question. And so how easy is it to innovate, number one, and also how does packaging help innovation? Your microphone.
I agree with Sahar. Innovation is not easy. So I think we have to learn how to have fun and how to engage with a network that's going to enable innovation, graduates, people from different walks of life. And innovation, I often say, is the ideation is only 2% of the work. 98% is hard work to bring it alive and to bring it to the market. Yeah. So I often get people saying, I've got this great idea. Yes, and put it in a funnel, put it in a pot and think about it. But there's a lot of work that needs to go into it in order to make it viable. And also over the years, we found there's quite a resistance to pay for the due diligence. So once you have a funnel and you've got a bunch of new ideas and you want to go and do some due diligence, do data research, go and test, test markets and do analytics to see what the potential uptake would be, there's a hesitancy on that side with cost. So I think it's really important to have a good story, a good concept board, to get buy-in from stakeholders to make sure they come on the journey with you. Otherwise, your innovation can die before it gets off the start blocks. And I think in terms of how does packaging help innovation, I think that packaging in itself, it's a necessity. It's a mother of all innovation. It leads and it builds and it has drawn innovation from other areas into itself. I'm not a chemical engineer, but I'm sure some of the other panelists know more in terms of thin-walled plastics, the sustainability. I think also what it's important is that how many people actually touch packaging every day, how many lives it influences, and it should be something where everybody touches and has the opportunity to see something new. And I'm going to touch again on that digital side, because how does packaging help innovation? It's an enabler. It touches every life more than a product to market in a consumable form. It can communicate, it can educate, it can send messages back to apps. It can actually map cities of the world. Many years ago in Kenya, here in South Africa, they did a trial with one of our big telecoms, one of the big pharmaceutical companies and one of the big telecommunications companies, in getting antiretroviral AIDS medication to consumers in very remote areas via drone. Now, the packaging itself was smart, so when the consumer actually took the tablet, the packaging sent a message to the app. And not only did it enable to help those consumers to know when they should take their medicine if they'd forgotten, but the drones were able to map the various regions of Kenya. And these remote places in Africa haven't been mapped like that before. And this is all of packaging. So I think it can also be an inventory control. It can, it can manage your inventory. And a very interesting thing that I've gotten involved in is on the e-commerce side, is the analytics of when your packaging or your product comes up on your e-commerce in terms of your competitor. And I think that also is the digital side of URLs and barcode innovation. So I think packaging is definitely an enabler.
You had some innovative ideas there, talking about the drugs being shipped out to remote areas in Kenya. So I mean, that's like, pretty innovative stuff. But based on that, I want to ask Chakravarti. I mean, Chakravarti, you've got something like 5 World Star Awards. You've got 1 Ameristar Award. So how do you innovate packaging?
Actually, it's not 5 World Star Awards. We got the World Star Awards in 5 years in a succession. and 100% success. We got much more awards. But I stopped applying for a World Star long ago, ever since I've been in the global arena as a jury on several. But okay, keep that away. When you talk about innovation, just now Gail told wonderful ARV, it really touches my heart. ARV, antiviral, antiretroviral medicines, the packaging, and then the Novartis is implanting the drone deliveries, etc. So a lot is changing, a lot has been changing, and technology is really enabling our lives to be better and better. And I salute all those designers and research guys in the back of the laboratories who are creating the innovative designs, who are helping the mankind at large. But the greatest, always greatest difficulty to design an innovative packaging to me is convincing your customer. Okay, why do some innovation in a packaging to really sell to the customer in a better way, maybe with a better price, maybe with with a marketing objective. What else? But the biggest difficult task is how to convince the customer. So to create a product whatsoever, always we should consider what is really missing from that particular product packaging, which is already out there in the markets. You don't need 2 eyes, you need 200 eyes and 200 ears, and you should be completely focused. Certain times, very small things which are missing, unnoticeable, might really change the perception of the customer if you could convince them. This is what I found out. You need to have a feedback from the market. You need to study yourself. You need to understand the product first. You need to really look out for those value additions or changes whatsoever you think about the product packaging, and then put all your brains together and how you inculcate those design ideas, be it in the material format or a conversion format or a presentation format. Don't forget that the best design cannot be a best functional design. Best looking design is different. Best functional design is different. You have to have a wonderful balance between a best looking design and a best functional design. It has to function throughout the supply chain gamut. Don't forget, it's not just when it is packed in your factory manufacturing facility, oh, it looks so well, but it has to do so well, it has to look so well throughout its supply chain gamut until it reaches the customer or until he uses the product fully. So this is very vital. You need to really get acquainted with the problems the customer currently has with that product packaging, and the rest is yours. The best course of action, always you ask people and try to question. They like the way you are questioning. You question people, take the feedback, and try to innovate in your designs. That's what I think.
Well, I like that answer, and there's lots in there, which really takes me then to Soha. Soha, earlier on you mentioned about sustainability, and sustainability can be very confusing for many customers, for many folk out there. They see this big word sustainability, they don't know what it means. Can you tell us, how can you make packaging more sustainable? Or how can you make packaging sustainable? How do you blend those two? Looks like
also but it's very also challenging to the designers. I always go back to the example given to us by Dr. Johannes, our Secretary General, who always, whenever he talk about sustainability, he talk about one word that is very important, which is optimal packaging. When we design the package, we are very now concerned about environment and all that. We tend to reduce the packaging material. But if we reduce the packaging materials a lot, and then we are risking of also having food waste. So sustainability is, as Shakarabi said, you have many compromises in the packaging. So, but we should not forget that number one role of packaging is to protect the product and to extend the shelf life of food. So whenever we want to risk and to reduce the packaging material, then we are risking this challenge. So by sustainability is to have the enough packaging material, the optimal packaging material, to also to be environmentally friendly, but in the same time to protect our food and to send our food or our product or our cosmetic or pharmaceutical to the consumer as we want them to reach them. So sustainability is very important, but I'm telling you, people are now being obsessed a lot with sustainability, and they are going into zero plastic, zero waste, all this trend that we are seeing around the world. And sometimes they are not being scientific, and sometimes they are not being rational, especially when they talk zero plastic. The problem, as I always say, the problem is not with the plastic itself. The problem is with us as a human being, how we are throwing the plastic in the nature and in the river and all of this. The problem is in managing our waste and sorting our waste. For sure, I am with innovative, sustainable or biodegradable plastic and to find ways, all of this, but not to put all the blame on the plastic material or the polymer material. So how our product can be sustainable? I said it should be optimal. We should, as much as possible, reduce the packaging material without risking the product. We should also be innovative by thinking about new ways of packaging that can be reused, whether as toys or whether as containers or whether as games. And last but not least, for sure, it comes without saying recycling. Most of the packaging material are recyclable. People sometimes get confused. They think that only paper is recyclable, glass is recyclable, tins are recyclable. I'm also saying it's not an easy task for a designer because you have many challenges. Your packaging, the first role should be functional. It should be protect the product. Second, it should be nice. It should be attractive. It should be well designed to catch the consumer attention. It should be sustainable, and it should also abide by the standard. So as designers or as a team or brand owner, we have a lot of challenges for our packaging to be sustainable. I hope I was not confusing the audience with my question.
No, I was very clear. And you mentioned something there that really stuck in my mind, and that was you said new ways, which leads me to Gail, because Gail, how do you make packaging unique? How do you come up with the idea to make it unique, or as so I put it, these new ways?
So I think that's an interesting question in terms of how to make it unique, because that's almost embedded with what makes an innovation an innovation, an innovative idea an innovation. And I go back to the consumer need. So I call it KNYD, know your consumer deeply. If you know your consumer deeply, you're going to have a hypothesis, which means that you can do your data for probability of uptake of the innovation quite early on in the ideation process. And I think to some of the earlier debate is, how do you get companies to take up innovation? And the one way that I've found that in order to get unique packaging into the market is to get the execs and the boards to understand what the predictive probability is going to be with regard to an innovative launch, so that they can carry some of the cost for the due diligence and have a slight sense of comfort that that innovation actually is what the market needs. So from there, I also believe in doing brand architecture. So if you look at the portfolio, and at the core or the heart of the portfolio, you have what you call the strategic value consumer, which is the user that buys the most of whatever product it might be. They are heavy users. And in the architecture, then if you determine your secondary and your tertiary users as a potential pool to bring more consumers into the portfolio, what that means is that you can design and create and innovate packaging that will communicate new reasons to believe, new reasons to engage in the brand, which again will support the hypothesis and bring the board on board with regard to funding the innovation and getting it into the market. So I also believe that you make packaging more unique by creating a great user experience, something that is easy, intuitive, and it's very easy to use, whatever it might be, a lotion if it's a cream, or a chip if it's a Pringle, or products such as that. So, and also structural form and shape. I think structural form and shape plays a big part. We know many brands are out there in general trade, bottles or polymers or whatever it may be. And I think structural form and shape can really be a brand footprint and can help to make packaging more unique. So I think it's a mixture of factors. It's about having perhaps sustainability here that would be still quite unique. Yes, of course, the big players are needing to go more sustainable. Having something that is driving and talking to a slightly different audience or a new portion of the audience. Structural design that is unique, easy to hold, perhaps good shelf presence and good online e-commerce presence. And I think it's a mixture that makes packaging unique.
Okay, wow, there's lots there. Wow, I like that. So Chakravarti, and I'm sure you've been in this position many times. What, in your opinion, makes a good innovation strategy?
Well,
A good innovation strategy.
so you mean to say that what really makes you tick on a strategy you're talking about?
Yeah. You know, in other words, what would, if you were given a task?
I'll tell you. I understood, Professor PR. You are asking all the difficult questions this day, but
No, we're warming up now. Now we're getting into the difficult stuff.
They're all in our daily life. Imagine, actually, if you want to create an innovatively some new product, it is not an easy task. One has to understand first. The design has to come with the art supported by your knowledge and experience. You have to think tank, a lot of brainstorming has to go. And also for creating a packaging design, it's not enough to have just an aesthetic sense. Okay, it's not just enough to have an aesthetic sense. You must also have to support it by the experience resulting in all your co-partners, and then how packaging has to serve as distinguishing feature, actually, in the, whether you talk about the store shelf and is it worth investing in the new design. Okay, you might be tipping it as attractive structures and patterns and colors, but is it really worthwhile doing it? And also the packaging is intended for, if it is for transport, it should be durable all through the supply chain gamut. It has to protect till the end. And one has to remember, at the end of the day, it is the customer's perspective that counts most. What you might think is really innovative might not take your customer. So that's more important. Also, very often a small mistake that is designers try to guess what all others think. It might go wrong. Designers may go wrong. Definitely, the solution has to really provide a solid data, and this is all key elements in the design strategy. You need to really look into it. As per me, I want to keep my answer short so that so we can answer some more questions as well. Thank you.
Well, let me ask her one. Thank you, Chakravarti. Soha, what then is an innovator's dilemma? in your opinion, what would be a dilemma for an innovator?
The innovator dilemma is he has a lot of challenges. First of all, the cost, as Chakrabarti said, the feasibility aspect, as Gail was mentioned this, and we face it a lot with when the designer. That's why whenever we have innovation, it's a team. Some people are great in ideation and getting to an idea, and then we said, okay, it's a great idea. The feasibility is another dilemma, is how we're going to implement this bright idea into packaging, into, for example, last time I had something with a client who was a corrugated, you cannot have everything you think with corrugated box. Sometimes you want it to be round, circle, and all of this. So the feasibility is also another dilemma. Sustainability is also another dilemma, because and last but not least, consumer needs, which is the number one actually, because we are doing this innovative process to please our consumer and also increase our market share. So all of this dilemma are very important, and the product itself, because whenever we're talking about the food, the cosmetics, or technology, so the characteristic of the product. So we have to take all these aspects into consideration when we want to innovative new packaging. Another also dilemma is not to lose our existing consumer. For example, when some brand owners, and we had a lot of example like Tropicana, now it came to my mind, when they drastically changed their packaging design, they lost a part of their consumer loyalty, because they simply didn't recognize the product in the supermarket. So also the perception of your brand in the mind of your consumer is very important. That's why I don't recommend the drastic change in the design, especially when I talk about colors and illustrations and all of this. So as I said before, it's not an easy task, because we have a lot of dilemmas to respond to, but the first one is for sure the consumer. The consumer needs are very important, and the product itself, and the other thing that I mentioned.
Thank you. Gail,
it's a challenging task.
We're coming up to the hour, so I'm trying to squeeze in some extra questions here. Gail, can one get disruptive innovation in packaging?
No, absolutely. I think if we didn't have all the barriers that Soha was mentioning, like cost and getting it into the market, I think packaging can be exceptionally disruptive. And I think a number of the examples that the panel has brought up today, such as internet connectivity, mapping, or dispensing something differently, or dispensing less of it more often, or being intuitive, or having a smart touch panel. Yes, I think packaging can be exceptionally disruptive in terms of creating new channels to market and creating different innovative ways for people to think. Because when you do innovation on packaging, that innovation may very well influence other categories and other industries. So yes, the disruption can be substantial. And I'm going to quickly touch on the IoT, the Internet of Things, simply because of the size of that market and the disruptive nature that packaging can have because of the volume of the packs in the market every day, and how it can actually change socioeconomic drivers for the future when it's used properly in this way, and when the data is captured properly. So yes, Pierre, I definitely think it can be very disruptive.
Thank you for that. You know, an hour passes so quickly, and I could sit here for another half an hour, another hour probably, and continue just simply bombarding the three of you with questions, because it is so exhilarating listening to all of you give varied ideas from your experiences relating to such an incredibly important aspect in our industry. But we have to bring it to an end. But before I do that, I want to ask all three of you the same question. I want to see how You vary in your answers based on your culture, on your country, on your region, and on your knowledge and on your experience relating to packaging. And remember, we said 116 years of experience between the three of you. So starting with Chakravarti and then to Soha and Kyle, you all have the same question. You only have 1 minute. So when you see me do this, it means your minute is finished, and therefore you have to fit into the answer. The important part that you want to include must come in there within your 60 seconds. Right, Chakravarti, what has been a game changer in packaging innovation for you, and why?
Well, for us, as you are very well aware, we have been in the pharmaceutical packaging business for a while, and the first one which close to our heart was the blister packaging wallets, pharmaceutical wallets, which really helped patients to comply a dose adherence regimen, and also help the companies to extend their marketing ability, and also help the people to take the doses in time, give back the feedback to the customers, doctors. It really helped. The pharmaceutical wallets have a long way to go. In addition, what I can also quote Lock for Kids, which has won all the awards in the world, probably almost all. The Star of the Ameristar President Award at World Star, CPSI International, and the Golden Nut Award at Netherlands, whatnot. So many awards. It has really catered the requirements of the F1 child resistance packaging. At the same time, it was so senior friendly that anybody, even with arthritic hands, that is the requirement, was able to open the pack. So it really did well to meet the requirements of the child resistance on one go, and the senior friendliness on the one go. It is a wonderful balance, and it's called the world's first reclosable child resistance packaging, the Lock for Kids. And I can say that's a game changer.
Good, thank you for that. Soha, same question, 60 seconds.
Yes, for me, the game changer was the smart packaging active of the RFID technology. Whenever I'm talking now as a mother, or whenever I want to buy food, fruits or meat, I can see the ripeness of the food is really good or not. So I like this technology a lot because it will indicate to me the freshness of the food. So this for me was very important part of smart packaging. The second one is the convenient one, as was on the go also lifestyle, because I'm on the go all the time and I drink and all of this on the time. So the self-heating and the self-cooling also technology here, also we are talking smart packaging, was also very important to me in packaging.
Excellent, excellent. That was 55 seconds, Soha. So you got another 5 seconds to add anything you want. No, that was good. Thank you. And Gail, the same question.
Okay, so I think from my side, I want to just go back, I think, to the 18th century quickly. And when Napoleon offered 12,000 francs to anyone who could come up with a way to preserve perishable food.
That's right.
There's a lovely story behind it. And the first innovator of the IP came up with a glass jar and did some tests. But then the second innovator came hard on his heels and invented the aluminium tin and patented it, swiping the IP out of first innovator's hands and looking and being the first to bring the tin to the market. And if we consider, in the 18th century, obviously when Napoleon would put this challenge to the world, and there was no such thing as preservative packaging to hold food for longer, I think for me that's one of the key examples, and also how important it is to protect the IP. Otherwise, somebody's going to swipe it. So if you think of the bread packaging of today with a little tag that holds the bread together, the guy who invented that, he didn't actually protect the IP of that tag itself, And when he realized his error, he protected the IP of the machine that actually applies it. So I think that there's some very disruptive packaging.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that's a great way to finish, because all of you gave such varied answers to the exact same question, which just shows one, and I'm sure shows the listeners and the viewers how diverse this industry is that we are involved in. You know, it's been a wonderful hour, and I've really enjoyed talking to the three of you. Thank you so much to the three of you for sharing so freely your experiences and your vast knowledge on this particular, sometimes difficult subject matter. I really do appreciate it. So from Chakravarti in Hyderabad in India, thank you very much. To you, Gail, in Johannesburg, South Africa, thank you for joining us today. And Sawa Atla from Beirut in Lebanon, thank you very much. And on that note, I'll hand back to Mark from Informa.
Pierre, I'd like to ask you a question, and I hope the other
I'm not a
experts.
panelist.
I know, but
It's good.
It's my turn now.
I'm happy. You have to ask him the question.
I'm quite happy too.
It'll be an easy one, Pierre. What's your views on packaging innovations?
Well, you know, the nice aspect that I have in the WPO is that I have advisors. I have a team of advisors. I have a team of experts, and the three of them are in this room. So if I get a question like that, I will immediately like to move it to my team and say to them, what do you guys think? You know? So let's start off with Soha. What do you think of that question that Marcus put?
No, you can't escape. Yeah, it's your views are very much valid. Mark wanted your views.
You know, this kind of
We are only listeners.
people, he's giving me back questions.
We wanted to listen from the professor.
That's an easy answer, Mark. The easy answer is that I think innovation is one of the aspects. I mean, there are many, and you heard our whole varied answers from the three experts. But I think innovation gives our industry the dynamic industry it really is. If you look, and you heard what Gail finished off on, way back in how many centuries ago, made such incredible changes that changed the future of packaging completely. And we continue to get that. You take a basic thing like milk, and I think Chakravarti touched on it. How did that change so significantly? And then you take pharmaceuticals. When I started in the pharmaceutical sector in the early 80s, there was not really much blister packing around. Blister packaging, for example, has transformed that industry. And you can probably go into beverages. You can probably go into the alcoholic beer industry and see what incredible changes were made there that changed all our lives forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is what innovation does.
I can't agree anymore.
Simple answer, it gives the dynamic aspect to our industry. It makes it alive and makes us all, four of us, and yourself, Mark, passionate about packaging.
Of course.
Thank you, Pierre.
Wonderful.
And I hope
Thank you,
and I hope the three experts are happy with the question.
Absolutely, can't agree anymore.
All right, so that's the word from our panel of experts, each with decades of packaging experience, including yourself, Pierre. So innovation is not easy, and nothing worth having comes easy. So we must continue to learn, develop, and innovate. So on behalf of ProPak Asia and Informa, I'd like to express our thanks to Gail, Soha, Chakravarti, and very special thanks and gratitude to Pierre and the WPO for this thought-provoking session. So from all of us here, thank you for joining, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.